If Later with Bob Costas were still airing and Polly Draper appeared on the program, the conversation would focus upon her post-30-something fame, which was far more impactful. She created the Naked Brothers Band, a satire of her family life. Shortly after she was on this episode of Later that you're going to see, she appeared on the Arsenio Hall show and met her future husband, Arsenio's band director, Michael Wolff. And their kids became the Naked Brothers. And her husband played the widowed father in the series. I endured watching it. And there's a whole generation of kids that were given some rock and roll because of Polly Draper. Now back to this upload. This interview focuses upon Polly's role on 30-something and the Ellen Warren character and her privileged upbringing. She came from quite an impactful family. So I think people will enjoy this. Both old people like me who thought she was the smoking hot chick on 30-something, and my kids' generation that know her children.
All right, thanks for staying up later. Polly Draper is with us tonight. She's Ellen Warren on 30-something. And are they now, at this point for you, inseparable? Is it like soap opera people? I don't watch any soap operas, but I've heard people say that
they become so
the
much like
character,
their
so somebody says Jason or whatever instead of their real name.
Oh, other people think that. Oh, yeah. I don't, but I realize
I'm glad to hear that. Sign of
what you meant, yeah. No, in fact, it's very disconcerting because I get, people getting really mad at me for doing things that I never did. So, like, get rid of that married man. Now, don't you have an affair with a married man and things like that.
Is there a notable difference from one type of person to another in how they react to you when they're really reacting to your character?
Definitely. Well, single women like me, they've been through the experiences. Married men seem to like me a lot, too.
Thinking you might have a chance.
The angriest ones. In fact, I think somewhere in Cleveland or Cincinnati, they did some survey from some housewives, 27 housewives they surveyed, and most of them wanted me dead.
Dead. It's kind of an extreme position. They don't want you punished, they just want you dead.
Exactly. So, yeah, no, teach her a lesson, kill her. So, anyway, that it is very odd. It's hard to get used to because I just come from theater where I've done so many different roles that I was never in for long enough for people to, associate me with just the role. Mm-hmm. So it's so surprising to me to hear.
Do you feel any need to separate yourself from the Ellen Warren character?
Yeah, I mean, I think all actors do, because it's kind of, it shows what you do. If I were exactly like my character, I wouldn't be as good of an actress. I'm a good actress that makes people think I'm just like that. But hopefully in my next role, I'll make them think I'm just like that person too. I mean, that's what it's sort of about. So you like to think that they say, boy, you're a good actress, as opposed to, boy, your character is this or that, or boy, you're really a slut, or, I don't know. I'd like them to know me better when they say that.
And then if they feel like saying it, you can respect that.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're well aware, everyone in the cast of 30-something, and Timothy Busfield has been here before, well aware of the fact that the show is immensely popular, and then there are people who say it's one of the most annoying things ever on TV.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is, in some ways, it is annoying, partly because I think that late at night when you're watching TV and just sort of want to lull yourself into sleep, well, not sleep because you have to stay up and watch your show, but I think that the people don't really want something that makes you really have to concentrate and think hard and reminds you of some issue in your own life that maybe you wanted to forget just before you went to sleep. And I think that it does things that most TV shows don't do, which is just make you really concentrate, really requires full attention, and it is annoying sometimes to have to watch that kind of thing. Now, initially, I think the reason it got the reputation for being annoying was there was a lot of whining going on about very small, petty things. I think there's still a little of that vestigial, leftover, whiny stuff, but I think that...
Yeah, I think that's what made people
turn them off
tab
more
it
than
as
anything.
Annoying. It's one thing to say that it's challenging, because other shows are challenging, and generally that's appreciated, at least by some portion of the audience. But in this case, it was like, this is the height or depth, depending upon your point of view, of yuppiedom.
Right.
Endless fascination with everything about
With
yourself,
finding
even the most insignificant thing.
Even the most boring thing that no one else in the world would be interested in but you. But the truth is, you know, all of us do have kind of life, we sort of are wrapped up in the little petty day-to-day, you know, what I had for lunch and what, and maybe you don't want to have to see that, but on the other hand, it's interesting. It sort of is true. It sort of is what people do. And I mean, this group of people, I'm not saying that, you know, there's a lot of people that do a lot more life-threatening things day to day.
What's the most interesting reaction you've ever had about the show or about your character?
Lots of times when they come up and say, I bet everyone tells you this, but I just hate your character so much. And you just think, well, it's an interesting remark just because you can't believe they're saying it. But
wasn't there a thing with a priest once?
Oh yeah, priest came up to me at a wedding and said every time he hears my voice on television, he almost loses his vocation. Every Tuesday night, he almost loses his vocation.
that vow of celibacy teetering on the brink.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, I get a lot of funny letters. I guess I'm hold the record for the strangest mail. I get a lot of guys on death row for some reason.
Really?
Yeah. I thought we all did, but no, it's just me.
And
So,
what sort of things do guys on death row say?
well, they, you know, like...
Besides, get me the governor.
They just, you know, they plead they only have a little time left, and so they'd really like to see me in red bikini underwear. Or then there's a foot fetishist that's written me several times. The funniest thing he said was, I'd like a picture of you in your cowboy boots, or just a picture of the boots themselves. I thought, well, hell, I mean, I would have given it to him naked in your cowboy boots. You know, I would have given him the naked picture in the cowboy boots, but all he wanted was the boots.
Oh,
so,
not just the boots, certainly.
Get it? Yeah, exactly.
That's kinky.
That's, yeah.
Someone just wants the boots. I mean, that
Well,
really crosses over the line in
yeah,
my
and it
view.
sort of was insulting. You know.
What about the episode where there was the computer dating thing and then the dream sequence and you wind up on Geraldo's show?
With Geraldo, yeah. Oh, he's great. He was hilarious. He's actually a very bright guy.
Very.
And very, has a real good sense of humor about that show. I asked him what the weirdest show he'd ever done was, and he said it was the transsexuals. He said that was definitely the oddest.
He also did the topless donut shop, I think.
Oh, he didn't. He hadn't
Yeah,
done
they
that
went
yet.
to this donut shop, the topless donut shop, and they shot it in such a way that they were able to conduct this entire program while people were being served their glazed and their you know, jellied crullers, and they were able to do it in such a way that they weren't thrown off the air.
Oh, that's so funny. He had all sorts of funny stories, but this particular fantasy sequence was about single women over 30, and I came up with he used it because, you know, Geraldo always has those catchphrases,
Right.
To describe whatever it is, funny, strange catchphrases, and I came up with the new old maids, single women over 30, the new old maids. So he did it in a fantasy sequence. I was one of the people being interviewed, and it was, you know, I was really embarrassed, or my character was. He then decided to do a show on Geraldo on single women over 30, and he wanted me to come on. I didn't, but
And you declined.
I declined. Yeah, it was traumatic enough to do it for the show.
Single women over 30 portraying single women in pursuit of married men over 30. That's the focus of this edition of Later. Now with Polly Draper, who's Ellen Warren on ABC's 30-something. We were talking about Geraldo just before we went to the break, but you had something of a nightmare talk show appearance for real, didn't you? You were on Phil Donahue with other members of the 30-something cast?
Yeah. I used to be very scared about giving interviews. I'm a little better now. This is ideal because there's not an audience out there, but...
either in the studio or in homes. So really, you're under no pressure at all.
I know. But I forget about that millions of people are watching from, you know, their TV sets. It's the people that are right there that disturb me. Anyway, I'm much better about it, but initially I would only do interviews if the whole cast was doing them because I was too scared. To tell you the truth, I know where it initiated, where it started from. I was supposed to talk on a panel about my experience at Yale, and I was the last person to speak in a group of 9 people, and every time one person would speak, they'd say exactly what I had wanted to say, and by the time it got to me, I couldn't think of a word to say, and I was literally said nothing and just kind of, you know, it was really embarrassing, so I was always afraid to do that. So when I did when we were asked to do the Donahue show, I said okay because it's the whole cast, and the whole cast is a very talkative group, so I didn't feel there would be any problem. But Phil Donahue noticed right away that I was the only one not talking, so he kept asking me every question. He'd put his microphone right in my face and ask me and I would, you know, stutter some answer, wouldn't be able to answer, and Tim Busfield kept filling in the answers for me, like, she's, you know, she weighs this many pounds, or she went to Yale.
So it was the real tough ones that you weren't able to figure out.
Yeah, it was it was like my name,
how old you are,
where I went to school, what, you know, what my name was, and what show I was on, and yeah, I couldn't answer.
And it was really just the presence of the live faces out there that threw you out.
Or the whole, I don't know, just the it's being left up to chance bothered me. The idea that I didn't know my exact lines was very disturbing.
You were part of that group of 30-something cast members that did the Playboy interview, though, right?
Yeah, but that wasn't like a fold-out thing. That was, although my sister, to try to really scare my father, told him it was. Hey, did you read the interview with Polly in Playboy? And he goes, what? He said, but not a picture. And she said, oh, no, there's a picture. And he said, I'm not going to buy it. I can't show your mother. Anyway, yeah, we all did that interview, but it was, you know, it was...
There's maybe, I think...
We weren't naked.
Good. That's reassuring.
Yeah.
Actually, you probably could have come out of such a situation in good shape. What am I trying to
say?
You. I don't know. The guy on death row would have appreciated it.
And the guy on
death
row
the subscriptions on death row would have skyrocketed.
Would have really helped my
in
popularity.
Leavenworth, boy, I mean, there would have been copies of that going around like nobody's business. I would say there's probably a generation and a half of television performers out there now who grew up with television. I mean, it seems like a simple premise, but Robert Young, as you know, the father on Father Knows Best, he didn't grow up with television.
Right.
Everybody on 30-something did.
Right.
How do you suppose that changes your attitude toward the work that you do?
Well, probably probably you have less respect for it because it was in your home ever since you were a kid. It's not one of those newfangled things that, wow, I want to be on television. I think generally that's the feeling that actors have for television, is that or that people have about television. It's right there in their home. They're in control of turning it up, turning it off. You can go get a sandwich in the middle of it if you feel like it. Only the most riveting performances are going to keep you there. Whereas if you're an actress in a play or an actress in a movie, there's an audience who paid to see you, to sit those 2 hours, to to watch you. I think that's the biggest difference. Less than the age group of having been used to it growing up.
Yeah, it's taken for granted more.
It's taken for granted more.
In one episode, you showed up as Marilyn Monroe at a Halloween party.
I'm going to. It's going to be aired, yeah, because they got the idea because I played, the last role I played before I did this on 30-something was on stage here in New York in a play called Insignificance, where I played Marilyn Monroe, which is, you know, I was pretty shocked to get cast in that role, but he had a brilliant makeup artist that made up men. He was made up transvestites to look like Marilyn Monroe, other famous women too, like Joan Crawford and other. And so I was really easy because at least I didn't have a beard. You know, it was a really simple job to him, even though everything about me didn't look like Marilyn Monroe, and really did an amazing job so that I really looked like her. But I also really worked hard on getting her voice just right and watched all her movies, listened to all her interviews, because her voice sounded different when she did interviews from when she acted, because she put on sort of a phony voice when she acted, or sort of a movie star-y voice, and it was really fun. I've never played a real person before. It was really fun to have so much research to fall back on. I read all about her, and it was neat.
Oh. Melissa?
Ellen?
No, it's me, Marilyn.
What did you find to be the most, through your research, the most endearing aspect of her personality and the most frightening?
She cared so much about people liking her. She was so needy for love, and it's, I guess she was so good. She was such a wonderful comedian, I think, just amazingly. She was just lit up, her whole face and her whole manner, and when I read about how difficult it was for her just to pull any acting out of any given day. I mean, 5 hours to say one line. She couldn't say this line, "It's me, sugar," in Some Like It Hot. She kept saying, "It's sugar, me," or "It's whatever." She just kept screwing it up for like 5 hours because she couldn't get it right. And I guess that was surprising to me, how difficult it was for her to do it, because it looks so effortless when she does it.
Back now with Polly Draper, and as every student of military history knows, the highest possible rank in the armed forces would be 4-star general, and your grandfather was one.
Yes, apparently he was a 4-star general. I mean, he was the most stars you could get. He was multi-starred.
You kind of picture someone like a kid's piano teacher with a little stick at 1 star.
Yeah,
Then pretty soon you're at 4 stars, and that's the
stick
end.
on his piano book. And he also helped draft the Marshall Plan, and he was Undersecretary of the Army under Eisenhower, and started Planned Parenthood, Population Crisis Committee. He was a pretty amazing man.
He's a pretty dynamic character.
Pretty dynamic. My dad's similar. He works for the UN now. He's the United Nations, head of the United Nations Development Program, which means he goes to every country in the world, these little third world countries. He's their United Nations representative, and he tells them how they can make their economies better. Recently, well, not too recently, but about 4 months ago, he had dinner with Castro, and he and Castro got into this big argument. The two of them were talking about something, I can't remember what it was, and it was getting pretty heated, so that my mother's kind of going, Bill. And my dad...
Through a translator, or did your dad
to my
speak
father.
fluent Spanish?
Oh, through a translator. And so he said that, my dad says, well, look, let's just drop this. It looks like it's getting a little heated. And Castro says, no, I'm having fun, aren't you? And so they ended up becoming these great friends, where they made a bet on who would be the new head of Nicaragua, which my father won. And Castro still hasn't paid up. And so he has lots of interesting experiences. He met Nelson Mandela, and just, he goes and has dinner with all these neat people. And
Now, how many siblings do you have?
I have an older sister and a younger brother.
And what do they do?
They're both businessmen, people.
So how do the other members of the family look upon this sort of maverick who winds up as an actress?
Yeah, they think it's great. I mean, they think it's great, but they are amazed.
You know, it might be lucky for you that you're not an only child. Maybe it's easier to accept when you're just
when
kind
you
of the
got two
odd one
that
in
are
the deck.
part of the mold. I know exactly. They take all the what my parents wanted them to do things, and I just go the other way. And they say, but my dad still has lots of advice for me on my career, even though he doesn't really know too much about it. He's, you know, he has all sorts of ideas of how to better pursue it.
What sort of things?
Oh, you know, just you got to get on a cover of Time magazine somehow. I don't know.
Well, that's good advice.
Good advice, Dad. He's just, you know, just has different ideas. And about my character on 30-something, he just hates when she does bad things. He wants me to be his nice, sweet daughter that he knows and loves, and not this girl that goes and has affairs with married men and does bad things, you know, is mean to her friends or whatever the character always does. He just can't stand that.
Time to clear out of here. We thank Polly Draper and all of you. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
And see you later.
James Dean kissed who off camera? Find out about Dean, Brando, and more when Dennis Hopper joins Bob tomorrow on Later.
Thank you for watching Cleveland Live Music. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. And in the video descriptions, there's further support options listed. Thanks for making the channel grow so much. Really appreciate it.